Hey guys, so I wanted to take some time and introduce you to our theme for this year's Run Walk for Hope 5K. And the theme this year for 2020 is that hope is greater than fear. Now I want to be careful with this because fear is not a bad thing. I don't want to paint fear to be this negative, but I want to talk about fear versus hope in terms of the motivating factor for why we do something. All right, so in order to do that, what I want you to understand is one, fear is not a bad thing. Fear can be useful. But two, we're gonna look at the contrast between fear as a motivator for our actions and hope as a motivator for actions. So what do we mean by hope? At Hope Family Care, we don't think of hope as something as like wishful thinking or like, man, I hope this happens or I hope this is gonna be good for me. But rather, we look at hope as something that is assured to happen. It's a confident assurance that something will happen. So based on that, fear versus hope, this is what I want you to see, why hope is greater than fear. So fear is restrictive, hope is expansive. What do I mean by that? Fear tends to restrict the possibilities of what I can do. It keeps things constrained. In fact, our bodies, when we're fearful, tend to restrict and constrict and they tense up. Whereas hope is expansive. It begins to allow us to see a bigger picture of possibilities. The other thing that is that fear is reactive, hope is proactive. So what do I mean by that? Fear tends to react to the situations that go on around you. Again, sometimes that's a positive, but if fear is my only motivator or the only thing driving my actions, it's gonna limit me. Whereas hope is proactive. Hope makes things happen. If I know something's gonna happen and I have hope, I'm gonna move towards that instead of just allowing things to happen to me. It's the difference between being a victim or being a survivor in my mind. So what else is it? Fear is myopic. Hope is visionary. What do I mean by that? Myopic means that you can only see a little bit. You can only focus on the problem. A lot of times fear deals with the immediate problem. Not because it's bad, but because that's all it sees. Whereas hope takes our sight off of that immediate problem and begins to expand and show us what can be, the possibilities. What else? Fear is descriptive. Hope is proscriptive. Fear tells me what's going on, whereas hope allows me to see how to move forward. One person said it this way: fear is diagnostic, whereas hope is a prescription, or it tells me how to move forward in that. And finally, when it comes to fear and hope in terms of grief, fear paralyzes, whereas hope mobilizes. And so our theme for this year, as you're doing your 5K or as you're preparing for it, as you're asking people to join your teams, remind them the whole goal is that hope is greater than fear because hope moves us forward, whereas a lot of times fear causes us to be paralyzed.